Hello, I'm Andrew Pritchard. Thank you for watching today's Canada Regional Forecast, brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. We'll take a look at a snapshot of the jet stream right now. Over the last few days, we've been watching this large ridge over Alaska, and that's a cold pattern for us here in the Canadian prairies, as well as much of the central and the eastern United States. We displaced a lot of warm air to the north, and then as a consequence of that, we displaced a lot of cold air to the southeast of that, and that's again what's kept us rather cold over the last few days across a large area here. Now we're going to see a change over the next couple of days into later parts of the week. A very active Pacific jet stream is going to weaken and displace that ridge, and that's going to allow the jet stream and the flow to remain rather progressive and allow us to warm back up not only across the central and the eastern U.S., but going to be seeing a warm up here across the Canadian prairies as well. And that's also going to allow for the chance of at least some disorganized precipitation to begin moving through the area. Overall, the well-defined storm systems again are going to be tracking through the central and the eastern United States, but it does appear that at least parts of the Canadian prairies here are going to get in on some of that precipitation, perhaps some accumulating snow over the next several days here. And we can take a look at that as well here, a loop of the European model. And there we see a couple systems just kind of sneaking through there. I'm going to slow it down. Obviously, that was coming at you pretty quick, and it's fairly busy. As we start this off on Tuesday, though, just some light snow falling across parts of Saskatchewan and Manitoba there, but just talking about light snow, maybe some flurries, no major accumulation, I'm sorry there. As we get into Wednesday overnight into Thursday morning, we see a slightly more well-defined area of low pressure beginning to track across the region. That's bringing some light snow to, again, parts of Manitoba there, perhaps some snow falling on the Front Range there in Alberta. That we head through the rest of the end of the week here, getting into Friday. High pressure moves in behind there. We're warming up, pretty quiet to begin the weekend. And then it's as we get into Saturday and now into Sunday, and we see another kind of loosely defined storm system tracking through the area, bringing maybe some more significant snow, although right now it looks like the heaviest of that snow is going to track probably along and north of Highway 16 there. So really high production areas of the Canadian prairies here at this point look like they're going to miss out on the more significant precipitation there unless we see something become a little bit more well-defined in this area. Here we go all the way out into Monday morning again. Here's that little tight low pressure system. Again, I'm going to say that there has been quite a bit of inconsistency among the weather models and how they're going to handle the intensity and the location of the storm system. So certainly, watch Eric's update on Thursday morning, and then I'll have another Canadian region update Friday morning where we should hope to have a little more consistency and a little bit more the ability to be more specific with this, but at least showing you the timing here. It looks like towards the late half of the week and then again on the back half of the weekend there. So looking at some chances for precipitation maybe Wednesday, Thursday, quieting down Friday and Saturday, and then getting into late Sunday. This is, again, we'll bring you all the way back to sunrise on Monday. We're seeing perhaps some snow falling across parts of Saskatchewan and Manitoba before this thing begins to sneak off to the south. We see high pressure return once again, but then we'll be watching for the next storm system perhaps towards the end of next week. So an active pattern, but one that's a little bit hard to nail down with any specifics when it comes to one location here. But we can take a look at the snowfall forecast from the European model here. We'll go ahead and play this out. Again, I mentioned some light flurries in the area Tuesday, maybe early Wednesday, just bringing, again, no major accumulation of dusting at the most in some of these areas across Manitoba and Saskatchewan. As we get into the later part of the week here, this will be Thursday and Friday. This is when we see the chance for maybe a light coating of snow across southern Manitoba. But then it's as we get into the back half of the weekend, Sunday and Monday, that we see this swath of potentially heavier snow. But again, that looks like it's mostly going to be north of Highway 16 there, missing out on a lot of the high production areas here of the Canadian prairie region. So while we do trend towards a pattern that is more active than we've seen over the last couple of weeks, it's not anything with a slam dunk in terms of some significant precipitation across the area. If I had to call out anywhere here in the Canadian prairies that looks like it's got a good chance of, a couple inches of snow, it's going to be southern Manitoba, maybe far southeastern Saskatchewan, but otherwise looking like the heavier snow at this point looks like it wants to head off towards the north. The Canadian model here looking out just over the next week. This gets us through to Tuesday morning, again showing the snowfall forecast, and you can see that swath north of Highway 16. but the chances there for certainly a couple of inches across southern Manitoba and southeastern Saskatchewan. Total precipitation, liquid precipitation here in that swath of potentially heavier snow in north central regions of the southern provinces there. We're looking at about half an inch to maybe an inch in some areas. If we look at Manitoba there, where we might see some snow, liquid equivalent there, probably going to be a little bit less there, around 0.2 of an inch to maybe a half of an inch, maybe locally higher in some, again, very localized areas. But check it out, southern Alberta, southwestern Saskatchewan staying predominantly dry over the next 7 days. As it looks right now, there, it's not a completely quiet pattern. But it just looks like the precipitation chances at this point over the next 7 to 10 days are going to be kind of scattered and hit or miss by nature there. We can take a look at the snow depth forecast here, and one thing I want you to notice as we shift towards a warmer pattern, we've got a lot of snow on the ground when we look across the upper Midwest and the northern plains of the United States. Getting into parts of southern Manitoba there, it's going to be spotty in nature again, but as we begin to move into a warmer pattern, that snow pack gets eaten away pretty quickly across. Again, we're really watching mostly the northern U.S. at this point, but it goes to show that if we do see some snow accumulating across the Canadian Prairie region here, it's going to be quick to melt as well as warmer air moves in on the backside. So not looking at this point over the next 7 to 10 days at any significant snowfall across the Canadian prairies that's going to be sticking around for a long time as we continue through this pretty active pattern. High temperatures, just to finish it out here, we're looking at these in terms of Fahrenheit here, and I want to show you the warming trend though. As we start out the week, this is looking at Tuesday high temperatures. When we say, talk about these in terms of Fahrenheit, looking anywhere from, the lower 30s to the upper 40s. So talking about single digits for high temperatures in Celsius there across the Canadian prairies. But we warm up quickly, especially across southern regions here. This would be our Thursday high temperature, seeing those high temperatures in Fahrenheit creeping into the 60s. So, getting into the teens in Celsius across southern Alberta, southern Saskatchewan, and then southern Manitoba late in the week. Here's Friday, now Saturday, Sunday high temperatures. There you go. Teens Celsius widespread across southern Alberta, southern Saskatchewan, and southern Manitoba. Before we see some colder air coming on the back side of that storm system, that's the one that could bring some snow to parts of the region. Probably going to be across northern regions, but that same storm system brings some cooler air, not bitterly cold, but cooler air back on the back side of that. As always, Eric Snodgrass will have an in-depth look at the evolution of the next 1 to 2 weeks in our Thursday morning ag forecast video. You can catch your next Canadian regional forecast right here on Friday. Thank you. Have a great day.